topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday morning, and of course, I'm excited to be here with you. And today, what we are going to be doing is I have invited my co-founder, and we are going to be talking about that age-old gremlins. Yes, those trolls, leprechauns, whatever you want to call, those who come in, whether they're sitting inside our heads or from outside, who take away that confidence. And our goal is to showcase you as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a coach, how to bring that back in. Because here's what I can say, that you may have the clarity, you may have everything. Without confidence, we don't take action, and we are here to make you successful. So welcome, Vahbiz.
Thank you so much, Divya, for having me. It's an honor. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Oh, so excited to have this conversation. Absolutely. And folks, for those of you who don't know Vahbiz, I want to introduce Vahbiz Shroff is my dear friend, my co-founder, where we created the Confident Leaders program, because what I believe is that regardless of wherever you are in your life, doesn't matter. Regardless of the title, you can be a leader. So Vahbiz, usually we kind of start out with a little personal note. So can you share, if you have a moment or a person from your life that left a positive mark on you?
Yeah, that's a great question. There have been so many people, honestly, Divya, who have influenced me throughout my life. I would say my mom was somebody who has left a lasting impact, because she was truly a leader in the real sense. The way she led her life, the way she took care of our family, and so I think she truly embodied a wholesome, holistic human being and leader. So I would say for sure my mom.
Oh, that's fantastic. And moms play such a positive role in their kids' lives. So you said that she left a positive mark. So as a mom, she was a leader because she guided you, she helped you. And when we talk about so many corporate professionals are struggling with their confidence. So what happens is when they're individual contributors, they're doing great. They show great value, great contribution. And now what happens is that because of the value they've provided, whether it is monetary or helping other peers or bringing in some product, regardless wherever they are, and now they are promoted to becoming a manager, and now they have to lead others. So what is the reason in your thought that works out that, they're like, will I be able to do this? I'm not able to do this.
Yeah, that's another great question. And First of all, I think at least like in the past, now things are shifting very quickly. So I'm so grateful that we do have a lot of leadership training and awareness incorporated in education systems and in organizational professional development growth, right? However, most of the brilliant minds, like as professionals, I think even as you're going through your training, there is really no formal training or education around specifically leadership. Right. So very often I feel like what happens is people gain their technical knowledge, which is important, and then they become experts in that field and that work. And then suddenly when they're given that leadership title, they feel like, oh, I haven't had the training in this, or I don't have the experience. And that's what I find is the number one reason, my clients come to me and say, oh, I've never done this before. Now suddenly I'm managing so many people. So I feel like, that the whole like concept, the paradigm needs to shift, where we feel like leadership is something outside of us. And yes, it's a skill that can be grown and developed. And it's not something that is always spoken of or we're trained in.
Very true. And so many times what happens is that you mentioned that your clients come to you. And as coaches also, I go back and remember my early days, when I had just started coaching, I was so glued to the competencies because there are different types of coaches. People have different coaching organizations from where they get the certifications. And usually on top of that sits the International Coach Federation. So if you've taken the organizational training and now you get the certification from ICF, it's almost like there are standards that we have to follow. So in my initial days, I was like, oh, am I meeting all the competencies in my coaching session? And that would take away my confidence because I was like, oh, I didn't hit this. And then as I started growing, I started realizing that at the core of it, our clients are at the front and center, where we are there to make that difference, to create an impact. So in your experience, as you do a lot of mentor coaching and support other coaches as well, have you seen that in the coaches' journeys as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing up that point. Because, I think even as coaches, we are leaders, right? We are representing ourselves as leaders. And it's important for, as coaches, also for us to have that confidence. So, yes, I have been mentoring coaches for several years. And that is one of the challenges that some new coaches will face, right? Because they feel like these are my guidelines, and it takes a while for us to, just lean into ourselves and our authentic selves as a coach and feel confident that just, our own presence alone can create that impact for the client. So, absolutely. Yeah. And knowledge, sorry, go ahead.
No, please continue.
Yeah, no, what I was saying is that knowledge is power. So yes, absolutely. The knowledge and the guidelines that ICF has set for us are so valuable, and knowledge does continue to grow confidence as well. And there is that fine balance where you start to, the key is, I would say, always knowing yourself, knowing your authentic self.
Absolutely. Know thyself. That's such a powerful statement, Vahbiz. I definitely resonate with that. Because when you know yourself, then you're at ease. And that's where so many times, there's so many different definitions of confidence. And for me, in my experience, and as I've seen with my clients, and as I've also, when I used to be a faculty member for a coaching school, and I would see the coaches, and as people grew, the more they started trusting themselves, the more they started building their confidence. In your life journey, what has built your confidence with this?
Definitely. Like you literally said it. For me, my biggest confidence leap came when I took the time to get to know myself.
Mm.
And for me that happened, of course, deep down, like, yeah, we didn't talk much about my background or my career path. And I'll just give a quick glimpse for the listeners or viewers of the show, is that I was in like a clinical biomedical background, right? And then I moved into consulting, business and coaching. And even when I was in my previous career, I did have that thing at the back of my mind, always asking, who am I? Is there more for me here, to offer and give? What's more in me? And that led me to the coaching, to seek a coach and then pursue coaching as a profession. And my true confidence leap happened when I went through the coach training program, at the Authentic Leadership Advisors. I think earlier it had a different name, but they really made us kind of like go deeper and deeper into ourselves to understand who are we. And to your point, the more I started to ask myself that question and really get to know myself, I was just at ease, like you very beautifully said, and my confidence just kept growing from peak to peak.
Absolutely. And that's such a powerful journey. And as you mentioned earlier, about knowing yourself. And it's also allowing and creating that space for self compassion, because the way we learn, it is the way I see life is that it's an inch wide and a mile deep, that the learning never stops. Learning keeps on growing. And every time, the more I learn, I find out that I don't know what I don't know. And that there is so much more to learn and unpack in life. And so, with these reflections as coaches, or like, there's so many leaders who are now leaders and now they're helping their reports or employees grow into leaders. So, sometimes there's so much technical work. And what happens is that, yes, they have really good technically, they have technical excellence, but they're emotionally exhausted. So, what are some of the emotional toll of leadership?
What are the emotional tolls, or like if I can get clarity, or what are the signs, like could you?
What are the signs, what can cause that emotional toll? So, just kind of looking at it from a 360 view.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think like the number one reason, again, Divya, like, it keeps coming back to the number one reason I feel that it takes that emotional toll. And I can say for myself, having gone through that phase where I was in my previous career, and again, it was a great career, great place where I worked. And because I felt like I wasn't being truly myself in that role and in that place, like there was that disconnect. And I think that disconnect starts to somewhere create a very low level of that emotional turbulence, and it starts to take a toll, where people start to feel fatigue, or things that they really loved and enjoyed at one point starts to become so stressful. Right. So I feel like that is the number one reason. And then the other reason I feel like with leaders, where I see them feeling that emotional burden almost, is that they are expected to very often perform, like you said, very skilled, technically, powerful leaders. They are expected to perform at high levels technically, and then they are also expected to perform as team leaders. And that's where sometimes, again, that exhaustion sets in, where they're like, I don't know how I can do both.
Yeah.
Right. And not having that support to support or resources for them to be able to do that.
Definitely. You definitely are on point. And let's unpack it further. So, what happens is, here they're technically very sound, And now they're able to deliver, they're riding on that
Mhm.
high. And then all of a sudden, now they're put into the leadership position and they're expected to lead. So
Mhm.
they're not only expectations from their boss, from their stakeholders, cross-functional peers, from the reports, and especially if you're somebody who has become from a peer to a leader, there are more eyes on it. Like, okay, why was this person promoted? Why not me? So regardless, wherever you're coming from that angle, what happens is that the demand is more and the capacity that you are able to supply is less because, as you mentioned earlier, the training, and it's not just getting any training because there's so many schools and there's so many programs where you can train, but if you don't hit that authenticity and help people develop from inside out, what's going to happen is that your inner critic is going to challenge you. And it's so many times, what happens is like people will, my clients, and I'm sure you've heard from your clients, come and say that, oh, I don't feel I belong in this role.
Mhm.
So if you're their boss or if you're a coach, how do you even begin to coach them through that?
Yeah, such a great question. And Divya, you're right. I would say almost every single leader I coach, whether they're emerging leaders or I've coached leaders who've been technical experts in their field for 10, 15 years, and then they've been asked to step into a higher leadership role, and they all face the same challenge. It comes down to that imposter syndrome. Like, do I belong here? And my number one question to them is, what causes you to ask that question? Where does that question come from? And I believe, like, just sitting with that question, their wheels start to turn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, really, who has told them that they don't belong here,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so again, like, start from that place of like really questioning, challenging their limiting beliefs or ideas that they've been carrying in their mind or head, so to speak. And then from there, really, Divya, I don't know how you approach them, but like, I take the time to, whether it is with tools or coaching, to really help them get to know themselves, get to know their strengths. So then they themselves start to shift from that question of, do I belong here, to, of course I belong here.
Yeah. Oh, that's a powerful journey, Wabis. And as you said that, sit with it. And when you sit with it, what you're doing is you're not pushing your feelings under the rug. Feelings are not to be pushed under the rug. It's not to be thought of as a noise. Think of it as a signal. What story is it telling you? And just like Wabis, you mentioned earlier, why? Why is it there? What is it happening? And that's such a powerful question to ask because it will illustrate the gap,
Mhm.
that it will show the gap, whether it is the gap in thinking. Is it a limiting belief or is it really telling you something? So, for example, if it's a gap that, oh, I've not taken that leadership, I don't know how to work through the situation, then you're working with a coach or then you are working through a program like ours. And in so for example, in the Confident Leaders program, we just don't touch the surface. It's not about the theory, it's about knowing yourself. Where are you coming from? Creating that safe space. And as you mentioned about tools and all that, that definitely makes sense. And
Yeah. And if I'll add a point, Divya, you mentioned a very important point, like taking the time to sit with it. I do see, I'd would love to know from your experience working with executives or leaders, is that very often they don't either have the time or they don't prioritize the time. to sit with themselves and really ask themselves a question, right? Because they feel like they forget that they put in so many years to get to that level of technical expertise. And now with this leadership position, they have to somehow figure it all out, like, overnight or in their first 90 days or, their first 6 months or whatever it may be. And it's so often like, the first time when I'm talking to my clients, encourage them to prioritize that time for themselves. Because I don't know if this happens with you, but very often, like, leaders who are busy also holding down their day-to-day, like, technical role, and also, like you said, meeting expectations of everybody around them. If they have a coaching call, very often that falls off the radar very quickly, because they're like, oh, it's not important for me to take that time to sit with the coach, or it's not important for me to take the time and go learn, get a training or something. So if we could, I guess, just make this almost like a request for employers or leaders to give time to their leaders as they are growing into their new leadership position, and then also for leaders to take the time for themselves.
You're absolutely right. It is the shortage of time, because as we look at the companies, and especially like currently, if you take a look at it, and the economic cycles, they're cyclical. Sometimes we are on the high, things are going good, companies open up for the training. And then sometimes if there's a downturn, then everything is like, oh, there are layoffs and we do more with less.
Mm-hmm.
So the key is, I want to bring our leaders and employers and executives, anyone who's sitting in this position, to ask themselves that question. Are you looking for a short-term cost or a long-term gain? And if you're thinking that, oh, I don't have the time, think about it. It's a short-term cost. Yes, you see it as a cost, but it is investment for long-term gain. I always like to say, you can keep on doing. Let's say you're just kind of running in a hamster wheel. You'll just be running in it.
Mm-hmm.
Things will not change. And what is it costing you to not sit down and put that time in yourself? Because it's also important that leaders are ready not only to invest time in themselves, but also to implement, because that information just remains information unless it becomes insights. And without insights, there's no implementation. What do you say?
100%. And Divya, you just reminded me actually of a perfect example of what you said. It happened literally yesterday. So if I may share the example or the story real quick, is that one of the leaders I'm currently coaching, she used to she used to sometimes prioritize everything else over her coaching. And in one of our recent conversations, we talked about exactly that. What are we losing out on when we don't take that time to reflect and be with the situation or the challenge, and be prepared to work with it. So yesterday she reached out to me, like she had a very important meeting where her direct report was almost on the verge of quitting, and there were so many other complications around it. And she decided to just reach out and say, hey, do you have 15 minutes for a very quick coaching conversation, right? So she, as a leader, rather than just going from meeting to meeting, things to things, and then jumping into that conversation with her direct report, she moved aside some things from her calendar so that she could be on the call with me. And at the end of it, she said, the 10 to 15 minutes that she invested in that conversation is probably going to be such a long-term gain for her and her organization. And it completely changed how she approached the conversation, how the direct report received it, and what it did for the team. So,
Such a powerful story and so impactful. She took that little time. She recognized it. And she recognized that she needed help. And it's so important to know that. You bring out such a great point, because so many times what happens is that as leaders think like, oh, I'm a manager or I'm a director or I'm like, I'm in the C-suite. I gotta know everything.
yes.
No.
Exactly. That's such an important point, Divya, because as leaders, they think that, oh, just like how I'm a technical expert and everybody comes to me and I've got to know the answers, is the same as a leader too. I've got to put up that, strong front, and I've got to push down, like you said, ignore those emotions, or anything that's bothering me. And instead, that it couldn't be farther away from the truth.
Mhm. And as Brené Brown says, I'm a fan of Brené Brown, like, leading,
Same here.
leading, and it's leading with vulnerability. And it's okay, because the more you share what you're doing is you're creating that space for others to share that, yes, we are human beings and there may be things we don't know, but that doesn't mean we cannot find out. We cannot go and do the research. We cannot pull in other team members or the other SMEs, which is subject matter experts. And the story that you shared, it just kind of reminded me of one of the coaches. Well, this is a long time back, like, when I used to be part of the faculty coaching, and I saw a coach mirroring just what I was going through in my initial phase, where she was like, oh, I got to check all the competencies. And she was so caught up in that she couldn't move past that. Like, she would have really like this imposter syndrome and anxiety around it. And then we started doing coaching together. And as we kind of slowly moved, she realized that as you keep on coaching, you also keep that competency in mind. It is about going back to that information. So you've learned the information, it becomes insights. You start embodying it, and you realize without checking off the list that you are adhering to the competencies. And to sharpen that knowledge, to sharpen that skill set, to sharpen that instinct, that's why International Coach Federation has continuing education credits that you are, because the like knife, right? The the edge of the knife becomes dull. So it's about that sharpening. What are your thoughts on that? Because so many coaches just kind of see, oh, this is a checklist, I gotta keep my certifications. I have to just do check, check, check.
Yeah, very well said, Divya, because absolutely. And I truly believe, not that, we want to like just go run after certifications, because that can also become like, I always joke it's like the certification addiction, right? I was like, oh, I want to learn this and that. And it's important to keep growing our knowledge, because that is an important component of us feeling confident. And absolutely, going through, I think ICF has done such a great thing with in keeping us sharp, like you rightly said, keeping us cutting edge and sharp by the continuing education, because it ultimately, the goal is for it to become muscle memory. Right. And like you said, sharpening the knife. I often give an example of the car, like, right, we get a beautiful car we want, we're excited to drive it, we get more and more comfortable driving it, and it still needs maintenance, because if we let it run to the ground, it's not going to be that efficient anymore. So I feel like it also keeps us in check as coaches, so that we don't steer away too far from the actual essence of coaching. And yeah, I think what I love about the program that we've created, Divya, is that leaders or like professionals who've never experienced coaching, they are able to take insights from it and learn how to lead through coaching competencies. And then, of course, coaches are able to take that knowledge and pass it on to their clients. So that's what I love, that combination. And in fact, the story that I shared about my client from yesterday, she, at the end of it, I asked her, like, what are you taking away into your meeting with your direct report? And she said, well, what I'm taking away is like a coach like approach. She's like, you know what, I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm just going to ask the exact questions that you ask me as my coach. you know and so she's like, so I'm not doing all the work, I'm not trying to problem solve, I'm going to be there, create the space, and ask them the questions.
And that is so powerful, because what happens is that confidence piece, coming back to it, and I really love what you said about our program, and it has come from heart. It has come from a place where we want to make an impact, not just only help the leaders become coaches, but also help coaches become more confident, helping their clients become confident, because that key between the confidence and that beyond confidence is that embodiment.
Mm-hmm.
You have the knowledge, but how do you internalize it? And how do you make it part of you? So, what happens is that so many times, a lot of coaches want to support leaders, but they're not sure how to hold that space. Who's supposed to have it all together?
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you offer them?
Yeah. Again, like I keep coming back to the fact that everything hinges on our presence, right? Because when as coaches, when we are going into that partnership, like as ICF calls it, it's partnership with our clients who happen to be, let's say, we are coaching leaders or executives. Uh, Keeping in mind that it's a partnership, so we are trusting them. The best way we can empower them through coaching is trusting that they are 100% capable, resourceful, and whole, right? So they are competent in their field, in their environment. So as coaches, releasing literally, I often say this when I'm mentor coaching, is that let go of the wheel, let go of the wheel. It's not your wheel to take, right? Our clients, our leaders are driving their car, they are in charge of their wheel, and what we get to do is sit by their side and hold that space, like you said. So literally that again comes from practice, trusting that we are there as a thought partner for the client and not a problem solver, because they are fully capable of solving problems. That's what got them to that high level of expertise or organizational positioning.
Hmm. Absolutely. And it's you said it beautifully. It's a partnership, it's a co-creation,
Mm-hmm.
it's the unleashing of their potential. It is about helping them create that roadmap that they already know. Just it's almost, if you're going with the cars, like spraying that fog spray and clearing their windshield
Exactly.
for them so that they can see, because they already have it. They are at the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is it creates that mindset shift, sparking emotional resonance. And when that comes, people step into their very being. So, now that said, we are in the last phase of our conversation over here. So, there may be
Mm-hmm.
like let's talk about the program. So
Sure.
why don't you kind of share about that shift that coaches and leaders could make today to become the leaders or to support the leaders we are talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah, so like you had mentioned earlier, the number one thing is to seek that support or resource, correct? So encouraging, whether it's organizations, encouraging their leaders to seek that support either through coaching or certain programs that can equip them, in leading, just not in the workplace, but everywhere else. And also for coaches, like again, like I said, our program, that's the beauty, that it serves such a vast, it has such a vast impact, in supporting coaches and professionals like. So for coaches, again, being able to experience a space like that, right, where they can continue their education, they can share with each other what their experiences are, right? Because very often, even as coaches, we are in silos where we are working with our clients. We're not sure, are we serving our clients? Are our clients getting what they want? So by coming into these kind of like intimate experiences, we are able to share with each other our skills, our challenges as coaches, and we all grow together, and then we go back and impact our leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly feel like, when you mentioned, yeah, it creates the emotional resonance. And that also reminded me, Divya, of also like emotional resilience, that, we start to build that for ourselves as coaches, and we are able to help our clients create that as well.
Absolutely.
What would you say regarding that?
Absolutely. And emotional resilience is the key because there will be occasions where you may walk out of a coaching session feeling, huh, something didn't happen today. And it's okay because the client was just not in the place. And what it tells you is that you held the space for them to be where they were and giving them that space to explore, because some sessions will be just exploration and that bringing that curiosity into the coaching sessions, whether you're a leader and you're sitting, as you mentioned, such a powerful story about your client, that I'm going to hold that space and come into the conversation with curiosity. So that said, emotional resilience is one of the key things to have wherever you are at in your life, regardless of being a leader or a coach. So people may be thinking, there are a lot of programs out there. Divya and Vahbiz, what is it that makes your program different? And why would I entertain that idea? What would you say?
I would say, of course, there are great programs out there, and our program, again, is like you said, absolutely heart centered. Where I think one of our attendees, if you remember, had mentioned in one of their, um, you know, testimonials, is that it goes deep. It was bone deep, is I think what one of our attendees recently mentioned. So that's exactly what is different. That yes, we have the tools and the techniques and all the technicalities of making you feel confident about your coaching skills or leadership skills, but it is so much beyond that. It's an experience in itself. And uh, the other good thing is that it is the way we've curated it is it's an intensive, right? So we are keeping it concentrated where it's immersive and intensive. So you take in all of that information and experience, and then you're ready, you're bursting with all of that goodness to go and implement it. And the other good thing is that we've added those coaching supervision calls for them in addition to that, so that the coaches feel supported as they implement those aspects of the learning.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. And of course, wonderful audience. I'm going to say the same thing. And Vahbiz described the program beautifully. And if you are looking to join us, check out theconfidentleaders.com. And if you just want to have a conversation, there's a calendar link there. You can book a time and get to know about it. And there are we are not going to like just kind of go at you like in that conversation, like no, go, work with us. No, there's no pressure of any sort, because we are just there to talk. We are here to create an impact. And the whole reasoning behind this is, and I'm still getting the goosebumps, Bob, is when you mentioned the bone deep, that yes, we come from a place of heart and we want to close that gap between information and implementation, where it becomes part of you, where it becomes the insight, and where you embody that rather than just going with information away. So we would love to have a conversation with you. Check out at theconfidentleaders.com. And thank you, Vahbiz, for joining us. It was such a wonderful conversation to have.
Thank you so much, Divya. This was fun, and thank you for having me on your show. Appreciate it.
Oh, such a joy and a pleasure. And wonderful audience, we love you. Our whole team loves you. So reach out to us. Let us know how can we serve and support you to help you live the life you deserve. And we will be bringing you stories, technology, information, knowledge, whatever you need. And I really appreciate you personally emailing me. And I know so many of you have been such constant companions on this journey. So please reach out, please share. And thank you, Juan, a tech wizard, for all your support and making the show possible. Be well and take care until next time.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who've experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.